I find it very difficult to find words to adequately express my feeling relative to the violent death of the President of our country today. It's a great loss to our country and one which will take many years for us to overcome, I feel quite sure.
Very difficult for one at a time like this to express their real feelings at the loss of the President of the United States. It's a tragedy that is certainly going to affect peoples all over the world. I certainly have a very deep feeling about it. I also have a very deep feeling of sorrow for the family. I know that they are very closely knit family, and I know that it's going to be a terrible tragedy for them. But I can only say that it's just a sorrowful thing that has to happen to our country.
At 3 o'clock this afternoon, the offices at Civic Center were closed. County and city employees took 10 to 15 minutes to move out of their offices to their automobiles, their first act to find out more details about the tragedy which struck America today, the death of President Kennedy. It was not a holiday mood in the minds of these people as they left the Civic Center building. They were concerned about getting the full details of just what brought about the tragic death of our president. Here at Civic Center, some people still not aware that the offices have been closed are wandering in, looking at closed doors, unable to conduct any business. A day of sadness and grief at Civic Center. Stunned disbelief of San Diegans as well as the nation has now been replaced by the words of condolence. Here at the office of Western Union in San Diego, since 1 o'clock this afternoon, hundreds upon hundreds of messages of condolence are being sent to Mrs. Jacqueline Kennedy in Washington by San Diego residents. It is interesting to find that most of the comments are coming from families as units, offering their best wishes in this terrible time of grief for Mrs. Kennedy. Every one of the operators on duty this afternoon has been swamped since 1 o'clock, unable to keep up with the flashing lights at Western Union, people wanting to express their thoughts to the First Lady.
Yes, I just heard it on the radio.
What do you think about it?
I think it's horrible. It's a tragedy. I'm not a Democrat, but I certainly think that it's one of the most horrible things I've heard in a long time.
Thank you.
We've mentioned before that
you heard that the president's been shot?
Yes. Certainly is disheartening.
Tragic.
Certainly is. There'd be no comment at this time. I think it will take very wise handling by those who are looking after the country at this point.
Word that he is probably safe and was not hit. However, an earlier report said as he entered the hospital, he was holding his arm as though in pain.
I just heard it. My wife just told me about it. I don't know what to say about it. I heard there were 3 of them. Is that correct?
I believe so. 2 or 3. The governor of Texas and President Kennedy.
Well, I think that's about as bad as you can get, I'll say that.
This is the same place that Adlai Stevenson was spat upon, too.
Is it Dallas?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm taking government in school right now, and I've been running around doing errands this morning. I haven't heard too much about it. I just hope it's nothing as serious as people expect it to be. I mean, I heard that they wouldn't issue any bulletin on his condition. They said that he was in critical condition. That's all I've heard.
The president's been shot.
Yes.
What do you think about it?
It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Some maniac was on the loose. Oh. I don't know. It's just such a shock that I don't know what to really...
Almost unbelievable, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, I'm just speechless. I just don't know what to say about it, to tell you the truth.
Thank you. Excuse me, ma'am, have you heard that the president's been shot?
Yes. Yes, I have, but I don't want my picture taken.
Okay. You heard that the president's been shot, ma'am?
Yes, I have.
What do you think about
I
it?
think it's terrible. It's a shame.
Thank you. This is Jim Price, TV8 News at 5th and C. We've talked to, or tried to talk to, many hundreds of people in downtown San Diego today about President Kennedy's attempted assassination. So at this time, we don't know if he's dead.
Right now, my reaction, oh gosh, terrible. I don't know what's going to happen now. Is he really dead? I heard that he was just shot in the head and was in critical condition.
The word we just received, it happened about an hour ago, is that he's dead.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's terrible. I think it's awful. Things like that.
What were your feelings about him as a man before this happened?
Well, I like him as a man, yes. Very well. I think he's a good man. But I don't go along with some of his ideas. But I do think he's a good man. And I'm sorry to hear that he's been assassinated.
Thank you.
Well, I'm kind of feel sorry about it to begin with, and he was a good man as far as I'm concerned. I think he was trying to do the best for his country. And I guess it's one of those unfortunate things in life that somebody was crazy and had to shoot him.
What would you think of a person who would do such a thing?
Well, I think he was off his mind completely. Or he might have been paid from some government, it's hard to say, but I think he's out of his mind to shoot a man like Mr. Kennedy, the president. Thank you.
Oh, I just feel awful. I think he was just as fine as any young man could be.
The Mass this afternoon is being said for the late President Kennedy, who died in Dallas, Texas, at 11 o'clock this morning, our time, of an assassin's bullet. During the Mass, I will be reading in English from the Missal at the same time that the priest is saying the Mass in Latin. O God, it is your nature to be merciful and forgiving. We humbly pray for the soul of your servant, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, whom you have called today out of this world. Deliver him not into the hands of the enemy, and forget him not forever, but command your holy angels to receive him and lead him to our home in paradise. Let him not experience the pains of hell, for he has put his hope and trust in you, but bring him to eternal happiness through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and rules with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever.
It would have been difficult to find a Marine here at the giant Marine Corps Recruit Depot base who did not attend one of the two memorial services for President Kennedy this afternoon. A Protestant service at 3 o'clock this afternoon. This is the conclusion of the Catholic Low Mass presented at 4 o'clock at the base theater. This is a far cry from what those of us who have been in military uniform experienced a number of years ago at the death of another president, President Roosevelt. At his death, those who were in uniform and may have been on the high seas were unable to receive the communication of his death because of radio silence. As this reporter recalls, we had pulled into Pearl Harbor, noticed the flags at half-mast on all the Navy vessels. It was then the whispered word was passed around to everyone that President Roosevelt had died. And so today, as these young men, also in uniform, pay their last respects to their Commander-in-Chief in solemn ceremonies here at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot Base.
Is he seriously ill?
The word that we just received is that he's dead.
Oh my goodness. I think that's one of the most terrible calamities, not the political side, but the human side. Why, you can't solve anything by killing. We found that.
Well, it's certainly going to create an unstable effect on the economy. I understand the stock markets have already closed down. Is that right?
That was the word. What is your feeling about the president himself?
I think he was a fine leader. There's no doubt about it. Man of proven ability.
Thank you very much.
I can't believe it. Just can't believe it.
Thank you very much.
I feel very badly about it because I thought he was a fine, outstanding president, and here Truman managed to live through 2 administrations, and why should someone like him have been taken? I think it's very tragic.
Thank you very much.
Oh, God bless us. Oh, isn't that awful? He's a human being. If they didn't like him, why didn't they leave him alone? Oh, gee, that's awful.
Opinion is that he perhaps is as mean as the fellow that shot the president.
I don't approve of that. I'd rather seen him go to trial, and I think he was guilty and all of that and everything, but he should have had a trial on. But things are so tense down there now that you can expect anything.
Well, I think it's a terrible thing, but as far as Oswald getting shot, I think he deserved it. That's my opinion.
Probably the only San Diegan at the scene of the capture of the suspected assassin of President Kennedy is back in San Diego now. He is Larry Hollis, a Miramar Naval Air Station sailor of 8379 Larkdale Street in Cabrillo Heights. Larry, how did you happen to be in Dallas at this time yesterday?
Well, I took my 3 children home to their grandmother and grandfather. My wife's going to have twins, and her doctor felt it would be best to separate them from their mother.
Now, you were quite close to the scene of the capture. What were you doing there at the time?
I was at my father-in-law's auto body shop, which is about 2 blocks up the street from the Texas Theater. It was quite a mess. About 1:30, we were all in the shop listening to the radio, listening to the news of the president's death. And here came all of these police cars, 3 or 4 police cars loaded down with police, roaring down the alley. And like I say, we faced right on the alley. And then a whole bunch of policemen and plainclothesmen, all armed, carrying various types of firearms, came running down the alley. There were 30 or 40 of them. And this one plainclothesman carrying an automatic shotgun stopped into the shop and told my dad there were policemen had just been killed about a block east up from the shop. And this guy was armed and dangerous and was a possible suspect for the assassination of President Kennedy. Well, he warned my father-in-law that it might be a good idea to lock up the shop, get under cover. It could get a little dangerous, get a little hot. And they stayed in the area in that same block about a half an hour, I guess. And then they all left. Took off quite rapidly, as a matter of fact. They all piled in the cars and started running as fast as they could. And they were burning the cars out pretty rapid. So I told my dad I was going to go see what was happening. They were going right down the alley with my dad's shop faces on. So his helper and I took off. We got down right behind the Texas Theater, which is about 2 blocks, maybe 3 blocks west of his shop, facing on the same alley. And they had just got this guy out of the theater, Oswald, and he was struggling pretty hard. There were 5 or 6 policemen holding on to him, had hold of his arms and his legs, had him around the body. And he was trying to get loose. He was bleeding about the face. There was a policeman, one of the policemen with him was bleeding about the face, looked like he'd been cut. There was a big crowd there. Oh, maybe 100 people. And they were pretty angry. I'm still angry about it. So was everybody at home.
What were some of the comments of the people in the crowd?
Oh, one woman went up to one of the arresting officers that had hold of him And she kept saying, "Is he the one? Is he the one? Is he the one?" And the man said, "I hope you burn." And there were general comments going around as people speculating it was this man that did it. One guy said, "You're going to die." I can't remember Oswald saying anything. If he did, I can't remember it. I guess I was pretty mad myself.
What is the general feeling in Dallas among the people?
Kind of hopeless. Everybody's walking around with a dazed expression on their face. They keep wondering why it had to happen in their town. It's a terrible thing to happen in anybody's hometown, but when it's in your own hometown, you really feel it.
There have been such a bad series of incidents occurring in Dallas, which is considered one of the most progressive and enlightened cities in the South.
Yes, sir, there have. In 1960, during the presidential campaign, Vice President Johnson was spat upon. Then a couple of months ago, our representative, Mr. Stevenson, was spat upon. He was hit in the head with an egg, and some woman hit him in the head with a signboard as he was leaving. This doesn't give our town a good reputation, not the reputation we like to have it.
What do the business people, the civic leaders of Dallas, feel about the future of their town?
Well, as far as the civic leaders themselves, I don't know. But the businessmen, some of the businessmen that I know, that are friends of my father's, there's one around the corner who owns an auto mechanic shop. Came over and talked to my dad. Came in and said, "Red, we might as well pack up and leave Dallas. Dallas is a dead town." He said, "This will kill us." This is about the same general feeling throughout the town. In Oak Cliff at this time, when they were looking for this guy, people went home and got their guns. There were quite a few people walking on the streets armed that I don't think were policemen. The men were there in their blue jeans and their boots and their hats, off work, greasy, needing shaves, and they were all carrying firearms of various types. I saw one man with a BB gun, about a 19-year-old man. I don't know what he expected to do with it.
Well, this is a terrible tragedy that will take a long time for the country to recover from, and for Dallas also.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from it in Dallas, sir.
What do you think of this newest development, the murder of Lee Oswald?
Well, I was very shocked to come out of church this morning and learn about it, and I think it's a terrible, terrible thing.
Well, I was almost shocked, too. I just couldn't believe that it was so. I was just hoping that he would live to suffer a little while. That was what shocked me, that he did die so quickly after being shot.
Knowing of the strong feeling against Oswald, do you think this might have been expected?
No, I do not.
No, you mean that for the dislike, you mean that everybody had that awful feeling? Well, no, I didn't dream that anything like this could happen. I thought it would be much more protected, in transferring him.
Do you think that this was, this series of events is part of a large communist plot, or that it was just an isolated instance, the shooting of the president?
I think it was an isolated incident.
What do you think?
Well, I think so, too. I mean, from what just when this, as I said, everybody, it's just, oh, well, we were just so shocked that we just can't think, as I said. It doesn't seem possible.
What do you think? What do you think of this whole incident, the shooting of Oswald?
Well, I didn't think that he was protected enough myself. I saw it on TV this morning, and It seemed to me like we had a very clear view of him and everything, but wide open.
Knowing of the strong feeling against Oswald, do you think proper security precautions have been taken?
I didn't think so.
Do you think this whole series of incidents is part of a large communist plot?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I think it's nearly as bad as President Kennedy getting shot, but because we need to show the world that we are a democratic country and that we can handle something like this in a democratic way, showing them our form of government.
I think now they're going to have to try the man that did it and give him the death sentence for it, to show that we are a democratic country, because if we let him go, that'll just be more propaganda against it.
I thought shooting Oswald was pretty dirty, because now our country isn't going to be as democratic as it should be, and I think Oswald that was the Communist Party, and I think the man that shot him, well, my personal opinion, I think that he had something to do with that shooting too, that he might be the one that is mixed up with it, that has something to do with communists, and they killed him, Oswald, so they wouldn't, so he wouldn't tell the people who did it, and I think that he's mixed up with it.
You are a Marine, aren't you? What do you think of the fact that he was a Marine?
Well, just because he was a Marine doesn't make him any different than anybody else.
I think that it was rather premature. It hadn't been proven that he did the actual shooting of President Kennedy, so it would have been better to wait until justice takes its own course. Although everybody has a certain amount of heavy feeling about the president being shot, you still have to hang on to yourself and let justice work.
Well, I think it's this way, sir. It's him assassinating the president have some mental effect on the people as a whole. And this man, I guess he figured maybe as to where no one else figured they had a duty to do it, well, he would do it. And I guess he was expressing his feeling to the public for him killing the president, even though it didn't do anything better. It just made it to the worse, because they'll probably never know now why he was really assassinated.
Oh, I think it's terrible. I think it should have been left up to the law. He isn't worth killing, really, but he isn't worth someone taking a chance of losing his life for someone like that.
I think it's injustice as for killing the president. Somebody, I think he was nuts.
John F. Kennedy is being buried today amidst the mourning of this great nation. Less than 3 years ago, he was chosen by the American people to lead us in a great conflict of our age, which is being waged over the destinies of nations and the liberties of men. In line of duty and at the forefront of this battle, he has given his life for his country and for free men over the world. The fighting forces tender our profound respect to his memory and to his gallant, high-hearted leadership. We remember this morning that he belonged especially to the officers and men of the Navy. He wore the uniform of the Navy in combat against our country's enemies, and by his bravery in action was true to the great tradition of our service. Navy men are proud that his training as a naval officer and his demonstrated courage in battle contributed to his later character and competence as our Commander-in-Chief. His passing is a loss to all Americans, but none feel it more deeply than the officers and men of the Navy. At the last, we are a nation under God. In this hour of loss and grief and new beginnings, we ask that God sustain all of us who are now afflicted, that He strengthen all of us in the service of our country, and that He bless and support the President of the United States.